Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to the Keaton Hurwitz Extraordinary Stream. I knew that was going to happen. I am eating an apple, and my mouth was still kind of full of apple chunks. And then I sneezed, because I couldn't help it, and then apple chunks all over my arm. But it's all good. I wiped them off. So yes, I am eating an apple before we get started on this book, but we're gonna get started on this book pretty soon. It's called Riddle Book. They actually just boldly called it Riddle Book, and as the title says, there's actually 6 riddle books. You have to collect them all. It's like a blind mystery box when you buy a book, and you get riddle books 1 through 6, with I think 3 being the rarest one. So I have collected, one of the riddle books, and we'll be reading it. It's called Riddle Book. And we're on chapter 10. So there's you have to you have to I like how Keaton's mouth does like little opening and closing movements when I'm eating the apple. Hello, everybody! Bella says hi! Hello to you, Bella. You claimed first for this stream. And then Throlin came in and tried to claim first, but Throlin, according to my log, you are second. But welcome in, it is good to see you, Mr. Throlin. On Irium, Moonlit Fortune has joined and said Twisted Wonderland mention. You know it, we're going to be reading some Twisted Wonderland. Riddle, Deuce, Ace, Cater, Trey, and more. So, we're going to start as soon as I finish this apple. Bella then said, I won't be able to read along, but I'll be listening. That is totally fine. I do believe, you said you read ahead some. So, you've already kind of like read it. So now you'll be listening to it. So, it works out. And, although you can't read along, I appreciate you listening in. I hope you enjoy what you get to hear from this riddle book. So... And then Bella said, bless you, thank you. It was a very unpleasant sneeze because I was like, please let me swallow all this apple so I don't sneeze it out. Boom! Apple all over my arm, just like that. Not the most pleasant situation, but like I said, it's all clean now, so we're good. Then Fastra! Hello to you, Fastra! Welcome in, Fastra, the one who got me this riddle book to read. And now I'm making so much good progress on it. It's insane. Fastra says, you would not believe the delicious cereal I'm eating. Fastra's eaten some delicious cereal, and before I had a chance to guess, she reveals it in the 160 stream streak. Yes, Moonlit Fortune, Riddle. There will be some Riddle mention. Fastra's 160 stream streak reveals the answer and says, Frosted Flakes, cookies and cream, milkshake. I do remember you mentioning that cereal. Now, ironically, we have regular Frosted Flakes. Well, technically not regular. I think it's the 25% less sugar. But they still taste like regular Frosted Flakes to me, so they're pretty good. So I'd imagine, adding cookies and cream milkshake to that would be delicious. So I want to try that, Fastra, but in the meantime, I'm glad you're enjoying the cereal. Chicken Patty joined for the very first time. I swear I've seen that username before. Chicken Patty, it sounds very familiar, but regardless, it says you're beginning for today, so maybe you just have a similar name as someone else. Welcome in. We're going to be reading Twisted Wonderland today. Bella says I'm up to chapter 11. Alright, so you're one chapter ahead of where we are. We'll probably be getting to at least chapter 11. I don't know exactly how long we're going to go, but I do have work today. So, and I haven't showered yet, so I need to like shower, eat, and then go. So I'll probably have to end earlier than I would otherwise if I had showered beforehand. Because yeah, just the whole showering shebang, it takes a little bit of time. Bella, Stick is here. Hey, welcome in, Stick. Some excited emotes. Yeah, we're gonna be reading Riddle. Bella says, also, I'm starting to like Deuce more and more every chapter. Okay, Deuce. I can see why. Deuce is certainly likable, and he's been, he's been being there for Yuya and Grimm. He has his moments where he, loses his temper, or acts up, but like he's trying to do his best. Yeah, he's a very likable guy. Basher says, will Riddles the Rosalia Pokemon be in this Riddle book? Ah, yes, the Riddles the Pokemon. Now, there's a chance. It just depends on when this book came out, because if it came out like recently, then yes, probably, because it's like a very important part of the lore. But if it came out like before Riddles existed, they probably didn't know about her yet, so probably not. Don't want to get your hopes up. Bella says he's my comfort character in the anime. Ah, yes, the anime was quite wonderful. I can see some people had some criticisms of it, which I can see, but I thought it was an enjoyable show. I liked it. And yeah, being a comfort character, that's I'm glad he could do that, could be that. Deuce, very, very upstanding young man, and Fasher does a good job voicing him. I was right, it's me, Chicken Patty. My old account got hacked. I knew it! I knew I'd seen that name before. Well, welcome into you. I'm eating an apple. Haberdasher's here. He's ready to listen. Thank you for the follow, Chicken Patty. I think that's part 2 of your follow, because I believe you followed before on your old account. So thank you. Did everybody get a lot of candy for Halloween? Any gamer guys in here? I'm a gamer guy! I love that video. You can't afford a PC, so stop talking. What the do you think I'm playing on right now? What the do you think I'm playing on right now? Language. This game is rated T for teen. You can't use rated M for mature words. Shut the up. Did everybody get a lot of candy for Halloween? Shut the up. Any gamer guys in here? I'm a gamer guy! What was after that? Oh, go back to the lobby, whoever just did that. Do you guys ever wonder what it feels like to be... What are you talking about? Did you guys notice I got better at Fortnite after something died? Gooder at Fortnite. Yes, Fastra. I'm a gamer guy! Exactly. I'm a gamer guy. That would so be me. Oh, I'm a gamer guy. It's so good. It's just the delivery of that line is superb. I've watched that video countless times at this point. I don't know what it is about it. It's just all the different parts. I'm gonna get a lot of candy for Halloween. Aqua just wants to know. Hydrate. Even though I'm eating a hydrating apple, I can hydrate directly with some water. Spoiler. Oh, it's not like Faster to give spoilers. Did you know Idia says that line in the last chapter of book 6? Chapter of book 6. He says he's a gamer guy? I can't wait to find out the context. What makes him say, "Oh, I'm a gamer guy"? That is crazy. Oh, Idia, man. First he says what the what, and now this. Yeah, that's the whole main conflict of book 6. Wow. I can kind of see why. Like, it makes sense when you consider, like, the kind of overarching lore of the game. And, you know, overblotting and whatnot. I was wondering why he overblotted, but that makes sense now. That's how it happened, you know? Being whether or not he's a gamer guy. So... I am now 32% more motivated to read the main story. Last apple slice going in. In just a second. Yeah, he overblotted because nobody was letting him be a gamer guy. I totally understand that. It's like everyone, you know, is against you sometimes when you're a gamer guy and all you want to do is just game, you know? But it feels like that's, you know, society as a whole is against that, and so it really, you know, and in a you know, in a case like Idia's, where he, you know, has a lot of social anxiety, and you know, he kind of takes he's able to take breaks from, you know, the outside world by being a gamer guy, and then when that's taken away from him, it results in, well, what you saw happen. I guess I have to pull for Overblot Idia now that I know why. Alright, apple is gone. Now I just have a little bit of peanut butter left to eat. Then I will be ready to read. Me and Idia have so much in common. I should cosplay him. Imagine. People who cosplay Idia is insane with that gigantic wig. But it looks good. Like, I've seen, Fasher has shown me some really good Idia cosplays. Peanut butter's pretty good. Oh, hello, Stick on Irium. Welcome to Irium. Yes. I've been not streaming on Irium during my gaming streams as much because they can't see the gameplay. So it's, you know, kind of like not up to the experience as whereas in when I'm just reading the book, it's like the same experience whether you're on Twitch or Irium, you know? You just hear the book being read. So, and there's no visuals to follow along with it. So, yeah. I'm probably just gonna stream on Irium on, like, streams like this where you don't really need to see the gameplay. But, who knows? I might change it down the line because sometimes Irium can be a way for people to discover the stream, and then they can go to my Twitch linked in my bio to see the gameplay, you know? So that people can see that I'm a gamer guy, you know? Oh no, my dryer stopped! It's time to fold my laundry. I was actually gonna do my laundry today, Fastra, but I kinda slept in. Snow Riot joined for the very first time. Hello to you. Welcome in. My name is Keaton Hurwitz. I am going to be reading a Twisted Wonderland book today. Stick gifted a heart. Thank you. And Stick says, good idea. Wait, what's a good idea? But yeah, faster, the ever-looming dryer stopping. Yeah, I'll be folding my laundry tomorrow. So I know the pain. You got this, Fastra. Just one clothing article at a time. Don't look at the whole pile, you know, just pick up one shirt at a time, one piece of pants at a time. Can you ask Haberdasher to fold my laundry? He seems like he'd be good at it. Yeah, I can ask. I think he's busy right now. But I can ask him if he has some time later. Yeah, I think he'd be good at it. Like, pretty, you know, like, he's small, so, like, it's like the equivalent of, like, you know, a human folding, like, a bed sheet, like something that's as big as you. So, like, for him, he can be really intricate because he's so small, and he'll fold everything perfectly. I've actually tried it before. He does really well. But he does have performance anxiety, so do not watch him while he does it. Stick said, Mud is coming to help you fold. Now, Mud, if he's coming to help you, I cannot guarantee the same level of quality and care as Haberdasher would put into it. You see, Mud, he doesn't care about, you know, whether the clothes have wrinkles or whatnot. He just wants the job done, and he just folds them like however. It's crazy. Like, when I had him fold my clothes because I thought he would be fine, he like hung up all my underwear on hangers and then put all my shirts in the drawer. Like, he totally messed it up. Fasher said, can you make a Haberdasher redeem? Interesting. Do you have any ideas to brainstorm? What could it be? Like, maybe a redeem that shows him like up close. I could try to do something like that. And Bella redeemed hydrate. Yes, I'm in the middle of eating peanut butter, so this is great. And Stick said Haberdasher is good at folding clothes. See, another witness to corroborate my story. He is pretty good at it. Like, just look at him sitting there. He's so calm and zen, you know? He's just... It's great. That's why I have him right here next to me at all times. Yeah, it shows him in a celebratory manner and plays monkey music. Oh. Okay. Oh, Bella says I don't know what's happening because I wasn't paying attention. That's all right. No worries if you know, missed any part of it. I was just kind of talking about Haberdasher and Mud and folding clothes. Finishing off this peanut butter, and then I'll read the book. All right. Apple finished. Let me go wash my hand off, and then I'll be ready. All right, I'm back. Who's ready for some riddles? Riddle's the book. Riddle, book, read now. Why is this happening? Deuce muttered the second they left the school. This is just too much. He looked up with a gasp and glanced at Yuya walking beside him. Oh, I'm not complaining about Diamond or Clover, though. It's okay, I know, Yuya reassured him. He had realized Deuce held upperclassmen in serious regard after seeing how polite he was with them in the cafeteria. Which was exactly why Deuce seemed unable to make heads or tails of Ace and the way he had carried on and spoken to the upperclassmen so casually. Ace is nothing but a giant headache, he complained. He has no chill, and he's always fooling around. Doesn't he have any pride as a Night Raven College student? Yet you're still helping him, Yuya said with a smile. Pretty nice of you, Deuce. Cater had informed them that Trey had made the delectable tart Ace had eaten. Trey's family ran a patisserie, so his baking skills were way beyond those of the average high school student. And Riddle loved the sweets he made, so it would be vital to employ Trey's expertise. It would be a bit of work, but any ingredients the students used to cook for themselves came out of the dorm's budget, so they could make their apology tart for the price of their labor alone. Riddle was sure to forgive Ace if he brought a fantastic treat to the party the next day. When Cater was done explaining his perfect idea, Ace had agreed enthusiastically. They would begin by gathering nuts in the woods for an authentic chestnut tart. Because they had been sitting at the same table, Yuya, Deuce, and Grim had gotten roped into the plan. You're not actually going to leave me high and dry here, right? You wouldn't be so heartless, not after we risked our lives together, yeah? Ace had pleaded. The other students couldn't refuse him, and lured by the promise of a share of this tart, Grim went out to gather chestnuts with Ace after school, while Yuya and Deuce headed for the school shop to pick up the necessary ingredients. It was no surprise that Yuya was going along with the plan, given that it was not in his nature to stir things up, but he never imagined that Deuce would help out with the tart project. He and Ace had been squabbling basically from the moment they had met, but now Yuya wondered if perhaps Deuce didn't actually hate Ace. After all, he was being so nice now. Yuya was already painfully aware of how, at this school, even the vaguest hint of someone being nice was incredibly precious and rare, so he was extra appreciative of it. No one's ever called me nice before. Deuce looked at him in surprise and quickly shook his head. Now I feel kind of awkward. Look, it's really great of you to say that, but the fact is, I couldn't say no in front of Diamond and Clover. I mean, you came looking for us in the cafeteria today, right? Yuya pointed out. I was really glad to see you. Maybe Deuce sitting down with them the day before had been a coincidence, but today he had very deliberately come looking for Yuya and Grim to sit with them. It was no big deal. Deuce gave him an awkward smile. I figured it's the kind of thing an honor student would do. An honor student. Deuce had mentioned this concept often, almost like he had an abnormal fixation on being the quintessential, normative, and proper student. You were, you were so pale the whole lunch hour yesterday, you. Since you said you came from another world, I thought maybe you couldn't eat some things here. He had apparently gotten the wrong idea about why Yuya had looked unwell. 2 periods. Deuce beat a fist against his own chest, full of confidence. Don't worry. You don't have to hold back. It's an honor student's job to help classmates in trouble. Yeah, Yuya nodded. Thanks. Oh! Deuce pointed at something. Isn't that it there? What Diamond and Clover were talking about? He was gesturing at a tree with a trunk that split halfway up, the remaining branches spreading out to the sides like spider legs. They'd been told this was a marker for the shop. Not far behind it stood a brick building, and a small hanging sign that read Mr. S.'s Mystery Shop, came into view as they approached. When Yuya and Deuce opened the door, they very quickly understood the shop's name. The interior was jammed with items with unknown purposes and applications. Bizarre masks, clouded bottles with invisible contents, and a range of vases in all sizes, as well as an ancient piano that definitely did not look like it was for sale. At last, he spotted the notebooks and pencils he'd expect in a school shop, but immediately next to those were necklaces and rings that glittered under the yellow-green illumination. It was an eccentric assortment of goods to have in the middle of campus, and it was charged with a mysterious atmosphere. The shop was completely silent, with no sign of anyone else around. Hello? Yuya craned his neck forward and called into the shop. A creeping shadow slithered up from his feet. "Ciao, my stray imps. You looking for something?" said a stylish young man as he stepped out of the gloom at the back of the shop. He was sporting black and purple locks beneath a patched top hat, matching the description Trey had given them. This was Sam, the shopkeeper. Sam wore white gloves and a small mask brooch that looked like the other masks in the shop. He felt like he met the brooch's eyes for a second, and he nearly jumped out of his skin. We're making a... Deuce began. "In stock now!" Before Deuce could finish speaking, Sam pulled out paper bags and set them on the counter. When the two boys looked inside, they were baffled to see the bags were already packed with the exact amounts, nothing more, nothing less, of what Trey had told them to buy. Cream, white sugar, eggs, and the rest of their required ingredients. "How?" Ya asked, surprised. "We didn't even tell you what we needed yet." "Easy peasy. A little bird told me." Sam snapped his fingers, and in the next instant, cards appeared wedged between his white-gloved fingers. Black paper printed with the silhouette of a hat in purple, the shop's business card. "I arrange for everything you little imps desire." He tucked one card into Yuya's breast pocket and placed the other in Deuce's hand, and then sidled up to stand beside them. "Will there be anything else?" He arched an eyebrow. "Might be good to have some extra cream just in case. How about the latest in mixers? Maybe a flying saucer to carry your groceries? All on sale now at a special price." No, thank you." Deuce set his money down on the counter and practically snatched up the bags with their purchases. He reached out to Yuya, who assumed Deuce was going to hand him one of the bags, but instead Deuce grabbed his shirt and yanked him away. "Thank you very much! Come on, let's get going." "Oh, okay." Yuya looked back at Sam as he was dragged out of the shop. "Thank you!" Sam's laugh had a mysterious quality to it, and he was entirely unbothered by their hurried exit. "Very well, then. Until next time, my little imps. Do come again." Sam fluttered a hand in a wave at them as Yuya and Deuce left the shop. "That was a close one." Deuce let out a sigh of relief. "I thought he was going to charm us out of everything we had." "That was some serious upselling, huh?" Yuya replied, as they started back toward the cafeteria kitchen where Trey was waiting. Ace and Grim should be just about done collecting chestnuts, too. "I've heard he's very convincing," Deuce warned him. "Someone told me you can go in to buy a single carton of milk and you'll end up walking out with 5. Even though you know you can't drink them all. But when he tells you it's cheaper to buy in bulk, you just sort of go along with him for some reason." His tone had the desperate tinge of lived experience to it. Noticing the curious look on Yuya's face, Deuce blushed. "The truth is, when I was little, my mom and I used to... Watch out!" Distracted by the conversation with Deuce, Yuya felt something slam into his shoulder, and he suddenly found himself flat on the ground. "You!" Worried, Deuce crouched down beside him. "Are you okay?" Nothing hurt except for the hand he'd landed on. He pulled over the bag he'd dropped. "Forget me," he said as he nervously opened the bag. "Oh, the eggs." The crack he'd heard a second ago hadn't been his imagination. 2 of the 6 eggs were cracked. I knew it, he sighed. Sorry, Deuce. The eggs are broken. Eggs? A low voice said. They looked back to find 3 students glaring at them. Who cares about your eggs? One of the boys grabbed Yuya's lapels and yanked him to his feet. What are you going to do about my shoulder? Yuya said. You've got a lot of nerve running into us, another boy snarled. And then you don't even ask if we're okay. You just worry about your stupid eggs. Oh, ouch! My arms may be broken. The third boy rubbed the arm he had apparently deliberately bumped against Yuya, and Yuya noticed a yellow and black band around it. This boy was bigger than either him or Deuce, and given that his uniform had none of the new crispness of Yuya's to it, he was probably an upperclassman. This'll need treatment, he grinned. Expensive treatment. But I don't have any money, Yuya protested. Well then, how are you gonna make this right? The boy loomed closer to him. Yuya was about to apologize when Deuce stopped him. Hold up, he said, stepping forward and grabbing the wrist of the boy holding Yuya's shirt. Please, let him go. You're the ones who darted out at us from the side path, were you not? Hey, the boy said, glaring at him. What did you say? We apologize for bumping into you, Deuce continued, but you were all fooling around and not paying attention to where you were going. Who do you think you are? Pretty big talk for a first year. The other boys took a step toward Deuce. Deuce, just leave it, Yuya begged him. Deuce frowned. They're the ones who came out at us from the side. As if to interrupt Deuce's words, one of the upperclassmen stomped on the ground. Whoopsie, my foot slipped. He twisted his leather shoe back and forth on the ground, right on top of the paper bag of groceries they'd bought at the shop. Yuya didn't have to look inside the crumpled, muddy, flattened mess to know what had become of the rest of the eggs. I was dizzy from the shock of being slammed into by my rude lower classmen. Whoa, poor babies! You're terrible! The boys laughed and slapped each other on the back. Even Yuya, who'd avoided anything to do with fighting, could tell that they were the very picture of delinquents, and he knew the safest course of action was to not fight back and run away as soon as they could. Yuya fretted in silence, and Deuce's hands shook. Hey, Deuce, Yuya said quietly. Let's just go. We can buy the ingredients again. Apologize, Deuce demanded in a low voice. Huh? Yuya was about to ask him to repeat what he'd said, but a quick glance at Deuce's face made him flinch and pull back. A blue vein was throbbing on his forehead, and his expression was twisted up in such a terrifying rage Yuya almost doubted his eyes. I told you jerks to apologize. You got rocks in your ears or what? Completely transformed, Deuce shoved the boy who had stomped on the eggs, then lunged forward and glared at his opponent, so close that their noses were practically touching. Deuce radiated an intensity that Yuya would have previously considered unthinkable for him. It wasn't anything like Riddle's overwhelming aura, but there was a dangerous tension to him. Like it was impossible to guess what he would do in the next instant. He was like a totally different person. Yuya wasn't the only one who was surprised. The upperclassman's jaws dropped in the face of Deuce's anger. You human garbage, Deuce growled. Do you know what you've done? What? One of the boys shrugged lightly. Broke some eggs, that's right. You broke those eggs. Deuce grabbed the boy's collar and yanked him closer. And those eggs, you see, they may not have gotten to be little chickies, but they were going to make some amazing tarts. You ripped that noble life away from them, and then you grin like fools about it. Hey, hang on. Chickies? Deuce, calm down. Yuya waved his arms to get his attention, but Deuce didn't so much as glance his way. He was on the warpath now. The only thing in his field of view was the enemy. 6 broken eggs. Deuce said grimly. If you don't say you're sorry, then you're getting a bruise for each one. What is with this guy all of a sudden? Another boy laughed. Like we're gonna say sorry just because you start talking like some total weirdo? Something powerful shot forward so quickly Yuya's eyes couldn't follow it. There was a thud, and a boy in front of Deuce dropped to the ground. That's one, Deuce said as he shook his fist out and looked down at the boy doubled over, clutching his stomach. This first year! He really hit him! The other two were abruptly enraged. All Yuya could do was stand there, rooted to the spot. Deuce was so still and calm that the violence before him didn't feel real. The boys were a full head taller than they were, and now they stared down at Yuya and Deuce with fearsome glares. The one who'd taken the punch staggered to his feet and readied his magical pen. In both physique and number, the other side had the advantage. If this turned into a brawl, Yuya and Deuce would not make it out unscathed, and yet Deuce was still strangely collected for some reason. Not only was he not panicking, but he was actually stretching his neck from side to side, as if he were about to get in a bit of light exercise. Yeah, I hit him, he said. I told you I was giving you 6 shots, didn't I? What's the matter? Didn't hear me? You got some nerve, one of the upperclassmen laughed. Little first year putting on his big boy pants, standing up to his elders. You got any idea what's gonna happen to you now? Another taunted. That's my line. Deuce spat with a grin, his voice wild. I'm gonna avenge those chickies! Come at me! Forget the chickies already! You're going down! Yuya closed his eyes, bracing for the battle. Stop it, a new, lower voice said, and the world around him fell silent. One second. I need to... Wow. There's a lot of... Never mind. Let me not go into detail about that. Blowing my nose. Yuya tentatively opened his eyes. A tall boy was standing there. He had an unusual air that commanded attention. Even through the fabric of his school uniform, his extremely toned muscles were obvious, and the scar over his left eye lent an intensity to his well-formed features. The upperclassmen froze, fists hanging in midair in front of their target as their bravado vanished in a flash, and they shrank into themselves like small animals under the icy gaze of a predator. Leona, one of them half said, half whispered. Deuce stared at the newcomer suspiciously, but Leona paid him no mind as he frowned down at the boys. Y'all stupid. Year's only just started, and you're out here picking fights? But he started it, one of the upperclassmen protested weakly. And? Leona leveled a glare at him. You disrespected me? Of course not! We didn't mean... Leona wasn't wearing a tie or even his uniform jacket, but he was wearing a vest of the same yellow color as the 3 boys, itching for a fight with Deuce. Faced with someone from the same dorm, the boys became quite docile. Yuya marveled at how easily controlled they were now, compared to just moments before when they had been so angry. Who was this Leona, anyway? Yuya suddenly noticed the small animal ears atop Leona's long hair, and remembered that he had been one of the people leading students at the orientation. Their eyes met. Hey, you, Leona said, staring at him. Yes? Yuya replied, and then quickly let out a scream. Leona had moved close to Yuya, and brought his prominent nose up against Yuya's neck. Terror washed over Yuya at his throat being so helplessly exposed to the other boy. Breaking out in a cold sweat, he was filled with the fear that his throat might be ripped open in the next instant. You! Deuce raced over to him, but before his fist could land, Leona stepped away. Ha ha! Leona laughed. It's true. You don't smell of magic at all. So that whole thing at orientation was no joke. Smell? Is he the one? One of the upperclassmen said as the boys now goggled at Yuya, like they'd only just realized who he really was. Yep. This here's the new kid who can't use magic. The one the head mage took pity on and made a student here. And y'all know what folks'll say if you lay a hand on him. Leona glanced at Yuya and then Deuce, a smirk crossing his lips. If you want to toy with these little mice, best do it somewhere out of the way. Hey, hang on. Deuce glared at Leona and pointed at the boy who'd stepped on the eggs. I don't know who you are, but these jerks still haven't apologized to the chicks. I'm gonna make them pay. When Deuce raised his fists, a skinny boy about the same height as him suddenly appeared and rushed to his side, wrapping an arm around Deuce's shoulders. His animal ears were bigger than Leona's, and he smiled broadly with large, droopy eyes. Yes, yes, the new boy said placatingly, patting Deuce's shoulder. Let's have you calm down too, okay? Who are you? Deuce demanded. My name is Ruggy Butchie. What is it? Fashra? Butchie? I forgot how it's pronounced. Like, how is it written in katakana? He shuddered deliberately. And this scary gentleman is Savannah Claw's house warden, Leota King Scholar. Seeing as you're picking fights with upperclassmen, it's clear I'm looking at an idiot here. But trust me, you don't stand a chance against our house warden, okay? Times like this, you want to watch out for number one and walk away. Walk away? Deuce stared at him incredulously. They picked a fight with us. No way I'm gonna run now. Goodness, Ruggy grinned. This little kitten has some real spunk to him. You should be thanking me. I called Leona out here personally, because I thought you might be in trouble, you know. You never do anything without expecting something, Leona said with a tisk at Ruggy. Even though all you did was fob this mess off on me. Shh! Ruggy giggled strangely. That's our house warden for you. I can always count on you to stop any fights in no time flat. The three boys who'd gotten tangled up with Yuya and Deuce guffawed and sneered. Perhaps Leona's warning had cooled their tempers. He seemed to be pretty popular, as his house warden title implied. Ruggy Butchie. Alright, that's what I thought. Thanks, Fastra. When Leona turned his back to them, the long tail poking out of his pants swung lazily. With its bushy tip, this tail was not that of a dog or cat, but rather that of a lion. Leona let lazy eyes slide over Yuya, and his narrow pupils shivered. Instinctively, Yuya understood that it would be heedlessly reckless to challenge this guy to a one-on-one fight. All fine and good to be so fired up, Leona said in a slow drawl, but at least have the brains to pick your battles. You tell him, house warden, one of the upperclassmen crowed. That goes for you dodos too. Leona sighed and vanished, his dormmates in tow. Alone now, Yuya looked at Deuce, who silently lowered his head. Deuce? He said, but got no response. Hi, Tabs! Welcome in! Yuya was a little hesitant to approach him after seeing Deuce's shocking transformation. He struggled to understand what had even happened until he heard a small voice. I did it, Deuce murmured. Huh? Deuce yanked his head up, a tragic look on his face. I forgot myself. I raised my hand to upperclassmen. Sorry, you! He bowed his head, seeming to have gone back to his usual serious self, almost as if Yuya had imagined the demon of moments before. I must have scared you. Oh, no, you saved me. And, don't worry about it. Yuya tried grinning at him, but Deuce already knew how unaccustomed to fighting Yuya was, and it was clear he thought he'd pushed Yuya too far. I actually... He stopped and sighed like he was in pain. That's actually the real me. He began to speak slowly, awkwardly. I had some slip-ups at the Enchanted Mine, too, so maybe you already noticed, but when I was in middle school, I was pretty wild. What you'd call a delinquent. A delinquent? Yuya parroted unconsciously, shocked by the admission. Deuce nodded, with a serious look on his face, confirming what Yuya thought he'd heard. I cut school all the time and got into fights. I hung out with a bad crowd. We used to have blast cycle races, tearing through mountain passes. From the way he spoke, Yuya figured a blast cycle was probably something like a motorcycle. I dyed my hair too. Blonde. I was a totally different person. Deuce laughed self-deprecatingly. One after another, he listed off the traits of a stereotypical delinquent, admitting to them as his own. These traits were the complete opposite of Yuya's own behavior, but he could easily imagine them. And then Deuce lowered his voice, his expression more anguished than ever, as if this were the hardest thing for him to admit. And I put down guys who couldn't use magic. Pushed myself up by making a big show of my magic, bragged about how different I was from them. I mean, I was a garbage kind of guy. If they had met back then, Yuya would no doubt have been Deuce's target. But seeing Deuce struggling now before him, Yuya could tell he really regretted his past. Yuya wondered if the harsh eyes of the students in the cafeteria hadn't bothered the once wild Deuce simply because he had been used to having people stare and whisper rumors about him. But you're totally different now, Yuya said, almost as a prompt. You're sorry about all that, right? Truth is, I didn't come to that realization on my own. Deuce averted his eyes awkwardly. I mean, it's kind of pathetic, but... After falling silent for a moment, he sighed deeply, like he'd resigned himself to his fate. I guess there's no point in trying to hide it now. He took another deep breath. One day, I went home for the first time in a while, and I accidentally saw my mother crying while talking to my grandma on the phone. She was saying I was so wild and that, maybe she had raised me wrong. She kept blaming herself. You could see that Deuce's fist was trembling inside its black glove. He could almost sense how tightly it was clenched. It totally wasn't her fault. She didn't do anything wrong. It was all me. It's when I realized how big of an idiot I'd been. I felt like I had to make it up to her, to do better. I tried to make amends for the way I'd acted, all the stuff I'd done. But once you're slapped with the delinquent label, there's not much you can do, you know? Reap what you sow and all that. Deuce readily admitted. Yuya could feel how much Deuce regretted his past behavior. When I got accepted to the famed Night Raven College, I figured it was my chance to start over. Mom was super happy when she saw the carriage come for me. Like it had come for her personally. I decided right then and there that I wouldn't do anything else to make her cry. This time for sure, I'm not going to mess up. I'm going to be an honor student. Someone she can be proud of. So that's what Yuya nodded to himself. No wonder Deuce had seemed weird from time to time. Yuya hadn't known how to broach the subject, but Deuce had been aware of it himself. But still, when I come up against something I can't handle, like just now, I lose control. Oh, curses! He couldn't seem to get over his own shock at having punched an upperclassman. He stared at his own fists as he muttered, If the Savannah Claw house warden hadn't come along, That would have turned into a real brawl. Turns out I haven't changed one bit from how hopeless I was back then. Seeing Deuce limply hang his head, Yuya thought back to when he had found him in the cafeteria on the first day of school, or the time he'd spoken to him in the classroom, and when he'd come looking for him on the second day. All of his actions, happy as they'd made Yuya, had maybe not come from kindness, but out of his desire to become an honor student. But that didn't matter. The fact was, Deuce had helped him out a number of times, and Yuya felt like he could count on him. Yuya hadn't said what he should have when Ace had apologized to him, and he regretted that now. If he kept on going this way, never speaking the truth because of his fear, nothing would ever change. "I'm grateful to you," Yuya said. He took a deep breath. If I'd been by myself there, they probably wouldn't have let it go even if I had apologized. Who knows what would have happened? Maybe gritting your teeth and putting up with stuff isn't what an honor student's about. I think that speaking up and saying something's bad when it's bad, the way you just did, isn't what an honor student would do. He was nervous speaking his opinion, and his heart leaped around in his chest as he watched Deuce's face carefully, worried that he was coming off like a weirdo. Nevertheless, he had managed to say everything he wanted to. "Fighting's not good," he continued. "But that's exactly why I could never stop a fight like that. I think you're amazing." "Amazing?" Deuce repeated, like he'd been caught off guard. "Yeah," he nodded. "I'm glad you're in the same class as me." "You are?" That's the first time anyone's ever said something like that to me. Deuce blinked rapidly for a moment or two, then eventually smiled with embarrassment. "I should thank you, too. It's too bad I couldn't pay those guys back for the chick's sake, at least, but I'm sure they'll rest in peace." He looked extremely solemn. Yuya was certain of something now. He thought there was no way it could actually be true, but it seemed that it was. Sorry," he said hesitantly. "Can I just say one more thing?" Sure." Deuce straightened up with a gasp. "Of course. You have to tell me if anything's bothering you, or if there's something I need to work on to become an honor student." "Oh, it's not anything like that." This was extremely hard for Yuya to say, but now that he and Deuce had grown a little closer, he felt like he could muster up the courage to spit it out. "Those eggs were unfertilized. They were never going to be chicks." Deuce looked more surprised by this than anything else thus far. "Are you kidding me?" And that is Chapter 10, Twisted the Wonderland, Riddle Book Riddle. We had a lot of, good left wrist pop, interactions with Deuce and the upperclassmen. We got Leona and Ruggy coming in and making an appearance. And some, lore about Deuce. Pretty good chapter there. Let me catch up on chat now. Here we go. All right, first off, Bella said, "I agree with you, Deuce. Ace is a huge headache." I see where you're coming from, Bella. Sometimes Ace can be hard to deal with. You can be a lot, not always making the best choices. Not always, doing the right thing necessarily, but he's trying. You can tell he's trying, and it seems like he wants to be better. He just doesn't really maybe know how. But yeah, I like Ace, but if you don't like him, that's valid. Ace, Fasher said Ace is awesome. No more Ace hate. I see where you're coming from, Fastra. Ace is pretty cool, and if it's a character you like, it's not always the best seeing people have negative opinions of him. But Bella said no. Vastra sent an emoji. I don't like Ace. Again, valid. That's your opinion. Um, but hopefully you'll get to like him more as we get to know him more, and he has more chances to, do the right thing, and be there for Yuya and Graham and everything. And then Fasher said, "That's okay to not like him. You're entitled to your opinion, but it brings down the mood of the stream if you're always saying it." And then Bella said, "Yeah, I guess so. You can say your opinions, but uh, well, personally, I don't mind if you saying something like you don't like a certain character, just as long as you aren't like bringing down other people for not liking them. I think that's where I would go wrong. Like if you said like, no, you shouldn't like Ace because of this, like telling that to someone else, then that's going too far. But if all you're doing is saying your opinion, you don't like a certain character, or you think that he should or shouldn't do a certain thing, I think that's okay. Just like in moderation, in moderation. And then Fastra said, "Finally finished folding my clothes." Yes, Fastra, good job. You did that. Oh, now 25 minutes ago. Holy moly, we were reading for a while. It just zipped by that chapter. Good job on finishing, Fastra. You didn't even need the Haberdasher lifeline. Nice stuff, Fastra. You win one Twisted Wonderland book. And Bella popped off for Fastra. Oh, Stick did too, with some pogs. And yep, Leona certainly made his appearance. He de-escalated a situation that was just continuing to rise and rise, and we were getting to see this, new to us side of Deuce that we hadn't really seen before. Yeah, like you said, he'd gotten, annoyed and gotten into like quarrels here and there, but he never went that far. I'll give you a punch for each of those 6 eggs, or a bruise for each of them. Like, that was, a new level that Deuce reached. And Leona helps greatly in preventing that from going too far, to where he would have, most likely made some even more mistakes that he would regret after the fact. Because we could see how much he regretted what he did do, which, all things considered, was, relatively not like crazy. I mean, punching someone like that to the where they double over, that's pretty intense. But, it didn't go further than that. But, even just kind of a small moment, a brief moment of him going back to his old self was enough to just bring all the shame back and regret. And then Bella said Ruggy. Yes, Ruggy arrived. And I forgot how to say his name, but Fasha helped me out with the pronunciation. Then Tabs came and said hi, hello to you. I said a brief greeting during my reading, but I was trying to like read the whole chapter with minimal pauses. That was like the main reason. Hydrate. I can do that now. And Bella said, remember to drink water, Keaton. I'd appreciate that, yeah. I am using my voice a lot, so that certainly makes sense. And then Fasher said, Riddle, the Riddle book. Yes, it is a riddle book. See, even Bella agrees that it's a riddle book. So yeah. Riddle, his book. Alright, so we had some people in Irium who have all came and went, but I'll read them anyways. So first, Donnet Scovey joined the stream. Hello to you. Thanks for the star. Powerful Chipmunk joined the stream and said, I am in the hospital because I broke my ankle, but I'm laughing so bad. I hope that was because of my stream. I hope it was because of my goofy reading that was making you laugh, but either way, hope you a speedy recovery, like Stick said. Even though they're no longer here, being in the hospital does not sound fun, and breaking your ankle really does not sound fun. But I'm glad hopefully, I'm assuming I could bring a smile to your face. And then X-Demon joined the stream for the first time and said, "Hey, yo, chill." I don't know what part I was at the time, but maybe Deuce was like getting angry. Thanks for the follow and the star. And then gifted a toilet, an LOL, another toilet, and a light green glow stick. And I sadly didn't get to thank them while they were still here, but thank you for those gifts. All right. Who's ready for another chapter? Another chapter. I'm ready for another chapter. The air smelled sweet, with the aroma of melting butter and sugar as the moist, creamy tart baked in the oven. Hands wrapped in oven mitts, Trey very carefully pulled the confection out and nodded, seemingly satisfied as he looked it over. Great, it came out perfect. Once it cools a little, we'll pile on the chestnut cream and decorate it with icing sugar and Marron's glaces. I'm probably saying that so wrong. Only a little more until it's finished. What? We still got more stuff to do? I'm wiped already. Ace sighed as he slumped over onto a counter. My fingers are still stinging from peeling the chestnuts. That strainer thing was no picnic either, Grim moaned. Crushing and crushing and crushing chestnuts for the rest of time. Well, I never imagined the two of you would collect so many of them, Trey said. When Yuya and Deuce had arrived at the kitchen after a quick stop at the store to pick up more eggs, they had been greeted by an enormous bowl of chestnuts. The shells and skins had already been removed, leaving a mountain of the pale yellow nuts. Yuya was surprised Ace and Grim had split up and collected a whole basket of them. You really went out there and did it, huh? He said admiringly. Right! Right! Grim leaned toward him eagerly. And I found way more than that useless sack of skin, Ace! Whatever. Ace rolled his eyes. You bawled like a little baby when the chestnut thorn stabbed into your whittle toe beans. He was somewhat worried that this would turn into yet another argument. But despite the harsh words coming out of their mouths, they actually seemed to be getting along pretty well. Maybe the competition fueled them. He considered the idea that they might have the potential to end up surprisingly good friends. Ace pursed his lips together unhappily. If I'd had known it was going to be so hard, I would have gone shopping with you instead of sticking with Grim. That'd definitely have been more fun instead of getting stuck with all this grunt work. I didn't know about that. Trey frowned as he dried his hands after washing all the dishes with an efficient, experienced air. They almost got into it with guys from Savannah Claw, you know? That was a real close call. A lot of the guys in that dorm are gym rat types, so they totally would have had the upper hand in a fight. I'm glad you're okay. Gym rats? Yuya frowned. Since they all had magic, how could Trey say that Savannah Claw would always have the upper hand, even if the other side was physically weaker? He was about to ask when Trey started laughing. Right, you wouldn't know. Personal fights using magic are prohibited on campus. And it makes sense if you think about it. If you had a bunch of kids going around attacking every guy who gave them side-eye, the school would be burned to the ground in 2 seconds flat, you know? A vision of the fight between Ace and Grim in front of the Great Seven statues popped up in Yuya's head. Ace quietly averted his eyes. So the house warden of Savannah Claw really did save us, Yuya said. Trey frowned. This is Leona we're talking about here. He probably wanted to avoid headaches is all. If guys from his dorm gang up on first years, people are going to start pointing fingers at him since he's house warden. Well, in any case, I'll say thanks the next time I see him. Just be careful from now on. Deuce nodded listlessly behind him. What's with you anyway? Ace demanded. You're being super quiet. You seem weird. This Leona guy freaked you out, that it? Grim guessed, shaking his head disapprovingly. Pretty pathetic, my dude. He hadn't told them about Deuce's past or the eggs, so he just mumbled something vague. While they were talking, the tart had cooled down. Would you get the sieve out? Trey pointed to the cabinet behind Yuya. The cap should be in that drawer there. It's got a little hole for chestnut cream. Yuya dug around in the drawer until he found the small silver tool. Ace groaned. You really are super good at this whole baking thing, huh, Trey? This whole time you've been moving around in here like a pro. You know exactly where everything is in the cafeteria kitchen. It's like you've done this a million times before. Oh, I'm no pro, Trey protested. I've still got a long way to go. This is actually the first time I've made a chestnut tart. What? For real? Ace stared in surprise. You're totally nailing it, though. Riddle likes strawberry tarts, Trey explained. So I make those a lot, and most of the recipes basically the same. Ace scowled at the mention of Riddle's name, and Trey gave him a pained smile. This chestnut tart we're making is something Riddle's wanted for a while now, and after I found this recipe book in the library, I wanted to give it a go. He glanced at the book on the counter. But getting the chestnuts prepped is way too much work by myself. This tart's a special treat. I'm sure Riddle will be thrilled. I don't care if he likes it or not, so as long as it works as an apology, Ace said grumpily. Yeah, and I'm pumped to have a piece, Grim declared. Despite Ace's and Grim's words, it was clear the tart was more than just edible. Pressed through the sieve, chestnut cream curled atop the tart, creating fluffy threads of deliciousness. Finally, they sprinkled icing sugar over it and gently placed the marrons glacés. Okay, done, Trey said, pleased. Something smells great. Cater waltzed into the kitchen the moment the tart was declared complete. Perhaps he'd been watching things play out from some hidden corner. Ooh, those look so cute! They really shine! Let me snap a quick pic for Magicam! Ace blocked his way with a sour look. What? Now you decide to show up? I just came to see how hard my little noobs were working, he grinned. See if you're fighting the good fight in here. And someone's got to be the official taster, right? Whoa! Taster! Grim's eyes lit up. Gimme! Yeah. Trey sliced up the small extra tart they'd baked. When the knife touched it, the slightly warm tart crust broke gently apart. When he handed Yuya a plate, Yuya couldn't help but start drooling. The group picked up their forks as one and shoveled the delightfully warm tart into their mouths. Rich in flavor, yet not too sweet. Grim pressed his cheeks and jumped up into the air. It's like chestnuts are dancing across my tongue! Is that a good thing? Trey smiled crookedly. It's really delicious! Yuya cried out. The simple sweetness of chestnuts filled his mouth, mixing in a heavenly way with the buttery crust. He felt like he could eat this forever. I've never had a tart this good. You're amazing, Trey. That's a bit much, Trey demurred, though he continued to smile happily. But thank you. Even Gloomy Deuce's eyes lit up. It's like something they'd sell in a store. Right? Cater said with a knowing grin. I told you he was scary good. Why are you acting all smug? Deuce demanded. Clover did all the work. But I struggled too, Cater protested. Sir Trey here looks all nice and kind, but he's a real grump, okay? Like he went and said to me with the straightest of faces, the secret ingredient in a tart is Walrus brand young oyster sauce. I mean, I almost believed him and made a mess of the whole thing. That's... Deuce began before he trailed off. He was about to make a joke asking how anyone could believe something like that, but then he remembered his own misconception about the eggs. Can't believe you believed me, Trey said as he smiled brightly. Ace and Grim glanced at him, but Trey didn't seem malicious. It was a joke. I never thought you'd fall for it. I mean, who puts oyster sauce on a pastry? No. When you go telling me so perfectly seriously that the umami of the oyster gives the cream a deep, savory flavor, of course I'm going to believe it. Cater winked. Hey, Trey, speaking of jokes, Do that thing. Hmm? Trey looked puzzled for a second and then nodded. Oh, that thing? Oh, that thing? Yuya and the others craned their heads to one side, wondering what they were talking about. Trey's grin was mischievous and surprising, given how mature he'd seemed up to that point. What's your guys' favorite foods? He asked. Favorite food? Ace frowned for a second. I like cherry pie. It's eggs for me, Deuce said. If I had to pick, maybe omelet rice, I guess.
Canned tuna all the way!
Grim cried.
In second place is cheese omelet, grilled meat, pudding.
Yeah, we get it, Ace said, cutting Grim off. He looked at Yuya. What about you? Yuya was stumped. Rice, maybe? Rice? Ace repeated. If Yuya said that he liked how it could go with anything, Deuce and Ace would roll their eyes at him, so he kept his mouth shut. Cater laughed and then said, I like a nice lamb chop with Diablo sauce. All right, you've got it. Trey pulled out his magical pen, which he began waving slightly. He said in a low voice, as if talking to himself, White to red, red to white. Paint the roses. Yuya and the others exclaimed in surprise as they watched glittering particles of light dance through the air. Trey pointed at their plates. Go ahead, have another bite of the tart. They picked up their forks and did as he suggested. At first, Yuya thought his tongue was broken. There was none of this rich chestnut flavor from a moment earlier. Cocking his head to one side as he chewed, perplexed, he started to taste gradually a sweetness. The more he chewed, the more he felt a twinge in his memory at the fragrance of a grain that spread throughout his mouth. Huh? Ace also had a puzzled look on his face. It's a chestnut tart, but it tastes like cherry pie. Is this ketchup? Deuce exclaimed. It tastes like eggs and ketchup. It's omelet rice.
Meow!
Grim cried in delight.
Canned tuna and cheese omelet and grilled chicken and pudding! All the flavors are wrestling for the top spot!
Apparently, everyone was tasting whatever they had said was their favorite, and there was no mistaking the familiar flavor of rice filling Yuya's mouth. Trey and Cater burst out laughing. Neat trick, eh? Cater said. I never get tired of asking for it. Always delicious and a total blast. 10 out of 10, no notes. This is a surefire hit to liven up any dinner party. It's my signature spell, Trey said, seeming amused that his prank was a success. It's called Paint the Roses. It can overwrite characteristics like taste, color, smell, and things like that. That's serious magic, Deuce's eyes shone. No wonder you're Vice House Warden.
So you're saying, with that spell, I can eat the grass outside and it tastes like tuna?
Gluttonous Grim looked extremely jealous.
That's the best! Way better than that Grump Rill's magic.
As if. Trey smiled, pained. Compared with the House Warden's magic, my spell is child's play. And it only lasts for a short time, too. It's like it covers things up for a second, hence the paint. Riddle's way more amazing. He looked up at the clock. It was already almost midnight. A great deal of time had passed while they had been absorbed in the creation of their chestnut tarts. It's late, he said. Let's call it a day and give the tart to the house warden tomorrow. Tomorrow's the unbirthday party and all, Cater sang. Make sure you're on time, kids. The other students turned to stare at Ace, and he crossed his arms deliberately. Can I crash with you again? He said. My mean dorm mates won't let me back inside my dorm tonight. It's fine with me, Yuya nodded.
You crash with us again, you gotta pay for the privilege, Grim said with a frown. A whole can of tuna.
Come on, Ace, Deuce said. Quit mooching off you. You did this to yourself. You made your bed, so lie in it. Where'd that come from, man? Ace frowned unhappily before his expression flipped into a smile. Oh, I get it.
You're jealous of me staying at Ramshackle Dorm, eh?
What?
Deuce gaped at him. No! Okay, let's get wild again tonight, Ace said gleefully. There won't be any busybodies around to tell us to quit after all.
Wild?
Deuce was furious. You were just told tomorrow's the big on-birthday party. I'm okay with anything, Yuya said weakly. Don't you two start fighting again. Despite the late hour, Deuce and Ace were full of spit and vinegar. The two third years shrugged in exasperation. Fine, okay, Trey said. Why don't you stay at U's dorm too, Deuce, so you can keep an eye on Ace? Huh? Ace pouted. Beside him, Deuce glanced at Yuya warily. But it's totally fine by me, Yuya responded. Deuce's face brightened. Maybe he really did want to sleep over at Ramshackle Dorm. The thought made Yuya uncomfortable for some reason. Are you sure it's all right, Clover? Deuce asked. Mm-hmm. Trey nodded. I can't have Ace going too hard tonight and oversleeping tomorrow. As Vice House Warden, I can issue you a sleepover pass. Lucky! Cater looked at Deuce, who seemed pleased with this turn of events, then poked Trey in the arm. You're always spoiling the noobs, Trey. Maybe I'll have a sleepover at U's too. No pass for you, Trey said immediately. The students quickly finished cleaning the kitchen and put the chestnut tart away in the fridge. All right, then. Don't stay up all night, Trey cautioned. Nighty-night, boys, Cater said with a wave. Good night, the first year's chorused as they watched Trey and Cater leave before turning off the lights in the kitchen. When they stepped outside the building, the moon was as bright as ever. I guess if you guys are so desperate to come over, I could maybe invite you into my manor, Grim told them and started walking up ahead happily. Be grateful! Yuya trailed behind with Ace and Deuce, discussing the events of the day. Stick said, you are so good at reading aloud. Love the different voices. Well, thank you, Stick. I really appreciate that. They're very fun. Uh-oh, Keaton's unhappy. They're very fun to do. This is like an interesting book. I don't really read books all too often, so, this helps me, like, actually read a book and be able to mostly focus on it, So yeah, I'm really enjoying it, so I'm glad you are too. And then Stick got her badge for 4 months in a row. Thank you for the support, and it was literally on the last possible day. Because it resets every month, so that's crazy that you got that. Goofy Buffalo joined and sent a star hello to you and welcome in. Oh, thanks for the heaven, yeah. Deuce grimaced at the scent of the musty air inside the lounge of Ramshackle Dorm. It's as old inside as it looks outside. It's got potential, Grim sniffed, indignant. With Deuce's arrival, it was clear the sofa was no longer going to work as a bed, and the lounge was too small for them to all sleep on the floor. The group's only option was to move to an area that had already been tidied, so they picked up the clean cushions and carried them to Yuya's bedroom. Yuya had chosen a room so large it was almost too big for one person. The mirror above the fireplace was its most notable feature, and perhaps because the mirror reflected the light, this room seemed brighter than the others, which was why Yuya liked it. Fortunately, the mirror had not been damaged by the rain leaking through the roof, and it was neither rusted nor cracked. When he had first come across it, the glass had been clouded over, but a little polishing had easily restored its brilliant gleam. Ace looked around curiously as he stepped inside. Since he'd slept in the lounge the previous night, this was the first time he was seeing Yuya's room. Huh. This isn't quite a place where a person could live yet, he commented. Hey! Deuce shot a glare at him. Don't insult you! You were the one talking about how old this place was 5 seconds after we walked through the door, Ace shot back. Pretending he couldn't hear them, Yuya spread out the cushions and blankets on the floor. The ghosts flew about, singing, and flapped a large sheet onto the makeshift bed next to Yuya's actual bed. It was simple, but it would do as a place to sleep for a single night.
Onyx, yeah, like the Pokemon.
Yes, yay indeed, Stick. And thanks for the heart, Buffalo. Yuya climbed onto his bed and looked down at the other two boys. The room's old, but it's clean, and it's pretty big. Sorry it's not an actual bed, but I hope you can put up with it for tonight. And feel free to shower or whatever now or in the morning if you want. You need anything else? Oh, could I have one more pillow? This thing gets in the way of me sleeping. Sitting cross-legged, Ace lifted his jaw to show him the collar around his neck. It did look like it would get in the way of lying down comfortably. Right, I forgot. He apologized to the sulking Ace and handed him a pillow. I'm so used to seeing it on you. Mercy! I might be able to get to sleep somehow now. Even as he spoke, Ace was arranging the pillow under his head and looking quite comfortable. As Yuya watched Ace, he realized that the collar not only prevented Ace from using magic, but also got in the way of him just living his life. Yuya was starting to understand how serious Riddle's signature spell really was. I had a tough time sleeping last night, too, he said. I mean, I had to find a spot to sleep and then get myself all tucked into it. A lot of work. Maybe I'll go buy a sleeping bag and some pillows and stuff for next time. Next time? Deuce furrowed his brow. He had built a wall of cushions between himself and Ace. How long are you planning to impose on you like this, Ace? You're not actually going to weasel out of apologizing to House Warden Rosehearts, are you? As if, Ace snorted. Not after killing myself to make that tart. It's just like, even after we go back tomorrow, I could sort of come over here whenever I get fed up with Heartsabile, you know? Looks like they've got rooms to spare. It'd be okay for me to bring over a few things, right? It would not! Grim shouted in Yuya's ear, just as Yuya was about to say it was fine. All them rooms are mine! Despite the fact that he had been the one to insist they pick out rooms for themselves, he'd been lounging in Yuya's room for the last few days. He said it was only until they got the other rooms cleaned up, but he hadn't so much as touched a broom. Yuya figured he was probably nervous about being all by himself in a ramshackle dorm. And how exactly are you going to use all the rooms in Ramshackle Dorm? Ace demanded. New room every day, Grim replied archly. Constant rotation. So there's no extra for you, Ace. Was it just in his nature to want to make everything his? How decadent, Deuce noted with exasperation, before his tone turned serious. Ramshackle Dorm might be surprisingly great, though. I could live however I wanted to. No classmate to get all up in my business like a certain someone. No upperclassmen picking fights. Oh, that reminds me, Ace said suddenly. What was the House Warden of Savannah Claw like, Deuce? What was he like? Deuce hesitated, and Yuya could see the awkward discomfort on his face. He was undoubtedly thinking about how he'd lost his cool and challenged the House Warden, but Leona had not given him the time of day. He knew Ace would laugh and ask if he had been in his right mind if he told him about the whole incident, but Deuce was bad at hiding things. It would have probably been only a matter of time before Ace found out about his delinquent past. Some people have animal ears and tails, right? Yi interjected, throwing a lifeline out to Deuce. The Savannah Claw House Warden was like that. He'd seen plenty of students on campus besides Leona and Ruggy who didn't entirely look human, but no one seemed to give them a second thought, so Yuya had kept his questions to himself. Ears? Ace raised his eyebrows and then nodded in understanding. Oh, you mean the beast people? Beast people? Yuya was sure that he had to be wrong. Ace stretched out his arm toward the bed and wrote Beast People on the sheets. You don't have them in your world, you? No. He shook his head.
Only humans go to school and talk and stuff. Ace? I mean, humans? Ace frowned. So then do you have merfolk? Merfolk? Yia gaped at him. You mean outside of stories? Stories? Ace laughed. Your world really is weird, you. Here, we call everybody human. Merfolk, beast people, and people like us, too. You do? He looked at Grim by his side. The monster turned up his nose at him.
I don't give a hoot about anyone but the magnificent Grim, he told him curtly. Beast people inherit the animal features of their ancestors, so a lot of them are super good at, sports and physical stuff, Ace explained. So you tend to see a lot of them in Savannah Claw, with the nature lovers and gym rats. Still, we've got some in our dorm, too. You do? Yuya paused to digest this. His name was Leona Kingscholar, right, Deuce? He seemed like a powerful guy. Yeah, Deuce nodded. He's got such an overwhelming presence. Maybe he's a lion person? I've never seen one before either. The King of Beasts is one of the Great Seven and all. I heard the Sunset Savannah is ruled by lion beast people in his honor. House Warden Kingscholar also got those dorm students in line pretty quick. Like a real leader. That was exactly it. Leona was obviously very strong, so as with Riddle, there was a clear line drawn between himself and other students. It was only natural that Ruggy and Yuya would both stop in their tracks when they came face to face with someone like that, who almost dared them to run away. But at the time, Deuce's focus had been on something else entirely. Deuce cleared his throat. But, Ace, why are you asking about him out of the blue? Oh, I don't know, Ace shrugged. It's just that our house warden is so supremely annoying. I was wondering if there was anyone around who could stop him. Are you trying to overturn the natural order of upperclassmen and lowerclassmen? To overthrow our house warden? Deuce shouted, and then Yuya heard a dull whump. Ace had thrown a cushion at Deuce. Shut your pie hole! He growled. Also, this has been bugging me forever. You keep going on about upperclassmen and order and respect. What is with all your hierarchy stuff? Huh? I mean, it's normal, right, you? Deuce glanced over at Yuya. Something's fishy with you guys. Ace eyed them suspiciously, but when Yuya nodded at him to continue, he returned to the subject at hand. Right, house wardens. All of them are seriously amazing, okay? My older brother graduated from Night Raven College, and he was always going on about how the power of the house wardens was next level. Deuce and Yuya both remarked that they didn't have any older brothers, and Ace grinned. Yeah, you don't seem like you do. Anyway, according to my brother, all the guys with real power and anyone with ambition are gunning for the house warden title. I guess that makes sense when you think about it. Being house warden at a prestigious school is something you can brag about for the rest of your life. Plus, your future's basically guaranteed. I mean, if you can get the position, why not, you know? If you can? Deuce rolled his eyes. You make it sound so simple. But House Warden Rosehearts is only a second year, right? True, Yuya frowned. I heard that the fourth years aren't on campus because they're doing field work. But the third years are still here, right? I would have thought the most senior students would get the leadership positions. Whoa. Ace looked back and forth between Deuce and Yuya incredulously. Are you too serious here? This is Night Raven College. Power rules above all in this place. A second year can totally be house warden if he can prove to everyone that he's stronger than they are. My brother said it happened all the time when he was here. If he can prove he's stronger, Yuya sighed. Was it possible that Night Raven College was nothing more than a den of fighting? At his old school, there had been elections for student council positions. Maybe there was a similar way to become house warden. House Warden Rosehearts took this top spot as the second year. He must really be incredible, Deuce said, his voice charged with emotion. Trey and Cater were both freaked out by him, even though they're older, Ace snorted. I figured pitting House Warden against House Warden might be able to take him down a peg, though. But it sounds like the house warden of Savannah Claw's a no-go there. I'd be too scared to start up that conversation with a powerful lion, dude. I wish someone would make Riddle squeal already. You seriously haven't learned anything at all? Ace shook his head. Deuce shook his head. The way you're going on about how amazing these house wardens are, you're making me want to step up and take the job too.
Grim waved his paws around. Deuce laughed. There's only 2 of you in Ramshackle Dorm, so that makes things easy. Although you'd still have to get the head mage's approval, so there's that. Listen, Ace interjected. If anyone's gonna be house warden, it's you, yeah? I mean, a monster house warden, that'd be a first.
What?
Grim's ears twitched against Yuya's head.
Well, okay, you. You and me are duking it out for the house warden throne.
I'm good, Yuya smiled. I'll let you have it, Grim. Yeah, maybe you don't have that house warden vibe, you. Deuce looked him over. And you're not really a vice house warden either. Oh, how about being a prefect? Yuya frowned at the unfamiliar word. Ooh, nice! Yes! Ace cried, laughing. A dorm's got all kinds of jobs besides house warden and Dag's house warden. Deuce is right. You're perfect for prefect, you. Ramshackle Dorm needs you. Ramshackle Dorm needs? Yuya paused. Wait, what does a prefect do? Keeps an eye on the other dorm students to make sure they don't get into it, Ace told him. A slow grin spread across Yuya's face. Oh. Then, yeah, maybe. He laughed with the other 2 boys. Grim, however, appeared not to understand why they were cracking up. His tail flicked back and forth, curiously. Aru arrived and said hello. Hi, Keaton. Hope you have fun. Thank you, Aru. I appreciate that. And thanks for stopping by. I just hydrated Stick. Thank you. And BG Wolf joined. When Trey and Cater got back into the dorm, students came racing out of the lounge on the verge of tears. There were a dozen or so of them, familiar collars clamped around their necks. Vice House Warden Trey! Cater! We've been looking everywhere for you! One cried out. Trey somehow managed to suppress the urge to sigh and say, Again? Instead he asked, What happened here? Do you remember the Queen of Hearts Rule 256? No drinking honey-sweetened lemonade after 8 p.m.? We forgot about it, and in the lounge, we accidentally... The boy gulped. And then House Warden Riddle took our heads! He was scary angry! Trey looked at Cater. It was hard to read his face, as he looked both exasperated and sad. Trey also had no idea what to tell the upset students who were pleading with him. I can't take it anymore! A student cried. He watches us inside the dorm, outside the dorm, everywhere! I need to be free! Another begged. Everything we do violates some nonsense rule. He just keeps pushing them on us. And what do they even mean anyway? Plus, he's getting stricter about them every day. I see his angry face in my dreams. I'm half traumatized. I want to transfer to a different dorm. Whether he liked it or not, Trey couldn't overlook the red and black collars around the necks of the boys before him. They stretched out halfway across the students' shoulders. Riddle's signature spell was terrifying, not only because it sealed a person's magic, but also because the collar ripped away a student's dignity. These students had been stricken with this humiliating symbol of a mage with no magic, and the next day would undoubtedly be hard for them. It'll be okay. We'll go talk to the house warden. Trey forced a smile and patted the student's shoulders. He's probably just on edge because the unbirthday party's tomorrow. I'm sure he'll forgive you if I explain the situation. How about you all go back to your rooms and wait? The students looked at each other and nodded begrudgingly. Trey let out an internal sigh of relief. Riddle would have become even angrier, slipping completely out of control and beyond Trey's reach if they had left the dorm the way Ace had. He was glad it hadn't come to that yet. Okay, Cater winked. I'll go make some tea as a show of deference to the queen.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Trey gave him a wan smile. No, happy to do it. I know you've got it rough too, Vice House Warden. Cater smiled sunnily, despite the gloomy situation. He was great at self-regulation, and it was especially welcome at times like this. Trey felt his load get a little lighter just from seeing someone else who understood the situation, even if he knew in his heart that it wasn't exactly true. Oh, but no black tea. I'm pretty sure Rule 53 says something about drinking caffeinated tea at night. Cater's eyebrows rose for a split second, but his familiar smile was quick to return. Roger that. I'm on it. 1 pot of herbal tea, coming up. Thanks, Trey said again, and after watching Cater go, he took a deep breath. What time would he get to go to bed tonight? Talking Riddle down after one of his tantrums was exhausting work. Another dream? For painting my roses red, someone will lose his head! Your Majesty, if anyone's to blame, it's him! Have mercy, your grace! It was the ace! So it was you! No, it was the 2! Then he will pay. It was the 3, I say! Enough of this! Off with all their heads! Ooh, yay! Hee hee hee! A fitting end. Color you can't mend. Everyone knows the roses should be red. You see the Queen of Hearts holding a big tree with some roses painted, some not. Some guy being dragged off, and Alice in the middle of some... one of them has a paint bucket on his head. Oh wow, that's the end of chapter 11. It is chapter 12 now. Can you believe we're on chapter 12 now? I can't believe we're on chapter 12 now. Hey, you! The first thing Yuya saw when he opened his eyes was a fluffy gray tail bobbing up and down beside him. Graham was happily asleep on his stomach. Oh. Hey, you! Takes a lot to wake you two up, huh? Ace said while Deuce folded up the sheets behind him. Morning, Yuya answered, rubbing his eyes. When did they woken up? The bedding had already been cleared away, and the curtains had been drawn to allow the morning sun to pour in through the window. You were dead to the world there. Are you still tired? Deuce scratched his head. Maybe we stayed up too late talking yesterday. I just kept going on and on. Sorry. I was having fun too. When Yuya thought about it, this was the first time he'd stayed anywhere with anyone other than his family. Although he'd hardly said anything and mostly just listened to Ace and Deuce, he'd enjoyed himself. He hadn't wanted it to end, so they'd kept talking a little longer, and then a little longer still, until it had become very late indeed. You were supposed to be keeping us in line, Deuce! Ace woke Grim up and crossed his arms. Snap to it! Today's Saturday, and that means it's time for the unbirthday party. Being the magnanimous soul that I am, I'll go ahead and say my sorries to the house warden. But if he gives me any lip, well, keep a bed open for me. That's not the attitude of someone who's apologizing. Deuce fixed his necktie and stood up straighter. Should we head over then? The house warden will have our heads if we're late. Okay. Good luck, guys. Yuya smiled. I'll cross my fingers that he forgives Ace. Huh? Ace's eyes grew wide as saucers, and Deuce burst out laughing. Huh? What? Yuya stared at them in bewilderment. What did I do? You're talking like you're not a part of this, Ace said. Guilt by association, man. You're part of the group, you. You're in the car, and it's already pulled out of the driveway. To put it another way, if Ace was going down, he was taking Yuya with him. Then
Yuya started to get up, but Deuce held a hand out to stop him. I totally get it, you, Deuce said. The attitude this guy's giving you, who'd want to go anywhere with him? If he's going to drag you into this mess, you'd at least want him to show you a little good faith, right? Oh, I actually... Deuce smirked, and Ace tisked at him. Ah, fine, I get it, Ace shouted. Quiet already, please! Come with us, you. There. Are you satisfied? Yuya really didn't need this from Ace, but at the same time, it felt kind of good to be invited properly, as he had even started to feel like he might be useful, even if it was just watching from the sidelines. He scooped up Grim, who was still smacking his mouth half asleep, and they left Ramshackle Dorm behind them. When they slipped through the Hall of Mirrors, he saw the same scene as the previous day unfold before him. A luscious green garden, an enormous maze, a beautiful building. Cater was even in the garden painting roses, just as he had been the day before. Good morning, Cater, Yuya called. Oh, Yui and AC, Deucey! Morning! Get a good sleep last night? Cater looked pointedly at the bleary-eyed Grim and laughed. Of course you didn't! I mean, a big sleepover party, living it up, living large. Did you share secrets with each other? Bond over pillow fights and card games? Or maybe you were talking about your crushes? Whoa, slow your roll, Ace said indignantly. You really just say whatever random thought pops into your head, huh? Ooh, ouch. I mean, random? Cater winced theatrically. And here I was, just trying to lighten the mood, since I figured you'd be all angst, AC. Angst? Ace rolled his eyes. I'm just giving him a chestnut tart, you know. A shadow appeared from the other side of the hedges. Huh? Yuya stared, unable to believe his eyes. Hey, me! Don't be slacking on the job! Walking toward them was Cater, the very same Cater they were already talking to at that very moment. Blah! Grim let out a yelp. Perhaps the surprise of it had woken him up at last. What the heck is that? There are two of you, Diamond? Deuce exclaimed, looking back and forth between the two Caters. No way! You're twins, Cater? Ace's jaw hung open. But, you look too much alike to be twins. We're not brothers, said the Cater they had met first as he waved his magical pen. He is me, and I am him. Split card. Cater shimmered like a mirage, and his silhouette doubled, then tripled. Yuya squinted to try and get a better look, and was stunned at the sight of additional Caters on either side of the Cater holding the magical pen. Yikes! We're in for it. Look at the time! Said the third Cater. Didn't get as much as done yet as I'd hoped yesterday. Unless I hurry, it's off with my head, the fourth Cater said. Standing... Fasher said, I love this riddle book. I'm so glad you do. I am enjoying it as well, Fastra. It is a great riddle book. They should have kept Deuce using Senpai for people like Cater and Trey instead of just Diamond. I know, it's common enough of a word, just like how they would sub-chan in, anime and stuff like that. Like, Diamond Senpai. Yeah, it has a different, feeling to it. Standing before 4 people with the same face, Yuya and his friends were at a loss for words. I literally never get tired of seeing Peep's first reaction to this baby. Cater tucked away his magical pen. It's my signature spell, Split Card. It makes magic duplicates of me. I'm the real KK, though. Copies? Deuce stared in amazement. They can talk and touch stuff. They're basically the same as the real thing. That's amazing, Diamond! That's gotta be super handy, Ace agreed. I maybe feel a twinge of respect for you for the very first time, Cater. Oof, is that actually a compliment? Cater flashed them a grin. Well, thanks either way. It is actually pretty handy. The more duplicates I make, though, the more exhausting it is, so I can't keep them around for too long.
But I'm in a real tight spot at the moment, so I'm breaking the whole gang out. Tight spot? He cocked his head to one side, and the caters hung their heads. Real me is lucky. Getting to chat with these cutie first years, the second cater said. Well, it's totally pointless to disobey me. We just gotta accept it, sighed the third cater. Let's get this thing done, the fourth said as the duplicates disappeared into the garden. The truth is, the roses are still not finished. The remaining cater shook his head sadly. I'll be in some pretty hot water if I don't get done painting them before the unbirthday party starts, you know. Whoa, here we go, Ace said. Queen of Hearts rules nonsense. Oh! Hater snapped his fingers. While you're here, I have a message from Trey. He left your superpowered chestnut tart on a table in the garden, covered by a silver cake dome so that you can't see what it is. He suggested, what if you lifted the lid off in front of Riddle and made his whole day?
That's clover for you. Deuce smiled appreciatively. I can't believe he thought about the presentation, too.
Yeah.
Cater grew pensive. It'll cause more trouble for us if you kiddies upset Riddle even more, too. Huh? Deuce's eyes grew wider. Cater winked at him, his face breaking into a grin. Is that what you're worried about? Ooh, you scared me. So that was a joke. Cater grinned. Also, you can't come to the party looking like that. Oh, come on! Ace threw his arms up into the air. What now?
Yeah! The constant nitpicking at this dorm, Grim howled. I can't take no more! I want to eat party food now!
Ace and Grim stalked toward Cater in frustration. This was a whole lot of fuss just to get into the dorm. Given that Yuya simply wanted to live an uneventful life, rules were something that he should have welcomed. After all, as long as he followed them, there'd be no trouble, and he wouldn't stand out. He'd always thought it was easier to follow a path laid out for him by someone else than to be given total freedom. He wasn't quite ready to say so out loud yet, but even he was starting to get fed up with the regulations of Hartsville Dorm. There were simply too many of them. He wouldn't be surprised if Ace wasn't alone in his unwitting breaking of the rules. Now, it's nothing huge. Cater held up placating hands. Yui, Grimmy, you're our guests. You slay just the way you are. But you and Deucey need to clam it up, Acey. The party's formal. One of the Queen of Hearts rules. I seriously can't anymore, Ace said, almost laughing. I guess it's hard for first years, Cater said, positioning Ace next to Deuce. But we're down to the wire here, so I will be your stylist today. Close those pretty peepers, babes. Ace and Deuce glanced at each other with perplexed looks on their faces, then closed their eyes. Cater muttered something and waved his magical pen. The mage stone flashed, and a glowing rainbow aura enveloped Ace and Deuce. The light was imbued with myriad colors, shimmering around their black trousers and blazers. It shivered, poking at nooks and crannies, until finally it flashed even more dazzlingly, then disappeared.
Yeah! You guys! Grim cried. Where'd those duds come from?
Ace and Deuce looked each other over before staring at their own bodies in shock. Whoa! Ace exclaimed. This is some fancy fit! What happened to my uniform? Deuce gaped. Their outfits had transformed into brilliant costumes with white as their primary color. Their jacket collars featured a different color on either side, red on the right and black on the left, while the lapels had swapped colors, black on the right and red on the left. The lapels curved out before tapering down so that they formed a heart on Ace's and Deuce's chests. Brooches patterned after card suits and heart-shaped accessories adorned the fronts of their outfits. While most of the decorative elements had a kitschy pop feel, the epaulettes and gold aiguillettes hanging down from their jackets cultivated an air of solemnity.
Beneath their jackets, Ace had on a red vest and Deuce a black one to match the color of the suits painted on their faces. This is the Hartsubule dorm uniform. At some point, Cater had also changed into the same outfit as Ace and Deuce. With a practiced air, he tightened the yellow and black sash around his waist. Dorm uniform? Dang it! Grim frowned and crossed his arms. Only you guys get to wear cool clothes. No fair. The dorm uniforms are outfits special to each dorm, designed to honor each of the Great Seven. Ours has a little pop of respect for our Queen of Hearts, Cater said as he gently stroked the brooch pinned to the left side of his chest. It was a white rose with red dripping down from the top. It looked very much like the roses in the garden that had so recently been painted in accordance with the Queen of Hearts rules. This fashionable treasure can only be worn by Hartsubule students. It's supposed to show off love for our dorm, so we wear them at dorm parties and when we're all hanging out together. We did this even back when the dorm wasn't quite so strict about the rules. Maybe it was because Cater was reminiscing about a time past, but it seemed to Yuya that his words were colored not only by affection, but also by a hint of grief. He struggled with whether to say something, but then Cater lifted his eyes from the brooch, already back to his usual lighthearted self. So, Cater said as he clapped his hands, Yui and Grimmy are one thing, but didn't anyone give you two the lowdown on the uniform? Actually, yeah, Ace mumbled while scratching his head awkwardly. The house warden said some stuff on the first day. I'm sorry, Deuce said as he threw his head down in a deep bow. I hadn't seen this uniform at all. I completely forgot about it. I get that. Cater gave them a warm smile. I mean, the dorm uniform's something we put on to show off. Sashaying around, showing up against other dorms. It's like saying, we're Night Raven College. We're Hartsubule dorm. If we're going off campus. We almost never wear them to class or stuff like that. Between the ceremonial robe you had seen at the orientation, Yuya's current uniform, and now the dorm uniform, it was clear that there was a wide variety of clothing at Night Raven College, which seemed about right for a prestigious academy. But it's fierce, right? Cater did a little spin. White, red, and gold. I mean, you don't see too much of that combo in menswear. Plus all these cutie brooches. I bet if you two posted pics to Magicam, you'd get a ton of likes. Well, I guess it kinda works, Ace said, seeming pleased. It's maybe not too bad. I think it's very cool, Deuce grinned. Thank you so much, Diamond Senpai. Grim whirled around at their feet, gritting his teeth, entirely vexed. How come only Ace and Deuce get them? I want a dorm uniform, too! A ramshackle dorm uniform. A ramshackle dorm uniform. Personally, Yuya didn't think it was necessary, as the only thing that popped into his mind was an outfit made of rags strung together, as befitting the dorm's name. Grim, however, was throwing a tantrum in response to Ace practically bursting at the seams with pride and boasting about his uniform. I want one! I have to have one! Grim yelled. Ramshackle Dorm's gonna make a real fancy, super gorgeous dorm uniform too, with gold and jewels and everything. It's gonna be way cooler than yours. You're with me, right, you? Oh, You gave him a wan smile. The regular uniforms may be enough for me, and, like Grim, you don't even wear clothes. You don't need a dorm uniform. Excuse you! I am too wearing clothes. Check it out. This here's my best ribbon. While they were talking, Cater's avatars returned, apparently finished painting the roses. Cater made them disappear and turned back to Yuya and the others, with an eyebrow arched and asked, Okay, ready, kiddos? Ace nodded firmly. The unbirthday party's in the garden, Cater said. Let's go! They followed Cater down the path until they came to a cute heart-shaped wooden door in the hedges. They went through it
and you discovered that the space on the other side was much bigger than he had imagined. The lawn was scattered with tables covered in white tablecloths and chairs of varying sizes. The tables were formally set with dishes and cutlery and held a gorgeous assortment of sweets. White cloth, green hedges, red roses. Even the sky above was a clear blue, like it had been specially ordered for the day. It was a beautiful and somewhat chaotic party venue.
Yummy!
Grim lunged for a nearby plate of cupcakes, but a second before he could bury his snout in baby blue and pink icing, Cater grabbed him and sat him in a chair. Whoa, whoa, Grimmy, Cater said. The star of this show's about to show, so hang on a teensy bit longer. A sudden fanfare shook the air, and Yuya, Ace, and Deuce immediately seated themselves. At the edge of the garden, a rabbit person called out loudly, All hail our leader, the Red Sovereign himself! The chatter from different corners of the garden dropped away as everyone held their breaths. Like frightened mice hiding from cats, they shivered in fear and waited for the rabbit person to continue. House Warden Riddle! We salute you, House Warden Riddle! The dorm students leaped to their feet. In the gaps between them, Yuya could see an arch of blooming roses.
Meow! It's that giant baby!
Grim exclaimed. Ace gasped, and Yuya slapped a hand over Grim's mouth. Riddle appeared beneath the arch in a black cape that was much longer than he was tall. With every measured step forward he took, the cloak caressed the cobblestone path, its rose-red lining catching the eye. The sleeves of his jacket were longer than Ace's or Deuce's, and the generous drape hung down to his knees. His sharp gaze was full of solemn majesty, while his fingers were wrapped in black gloves, and his high heels clacked against the ground. Everything, right down to each individual strand of red hair, radiated pride. The golden crown on his head and his billowing silhouette gave the impression of a queen. The garden roses are red, and the tablecloths are white, Riddle said as he stood before the dorm students and swept his eyes over the garden. Trey saw Riddle's eyes pause on a teapot, and he quietly approached him. No need for concern. We've also prepared jam to spread on the nose of the dormouse in the teapot, should it become necessary. Very good. Riddle stamped the long scepter in his right hand against the ground. On the end of it, a red jewel flashed, and a cold clang echoed through the air. He threw out his left hand to his side, and Trey immediately handed him a glass. Riddle raised the glass and said in a voice that carried throughout the garden, Well then, on this most significantly unauspicious of days, I bid in attendance a very merry unbirthday. To a very merry unbirthday! The students lifted their own glasses in the air. At Riddle's signal, they were finally able to sit down. Here and there, you heard sighs of relief. Yes, first Fascia said I couldn't be in Heartsuble because I wouldn't like painting on my face every day. Yeah, that's a good point. That is, a pretty iconic part of being in Heartsuble, so I could see how that could be a problem. But for me as Keaton, it would be even more of a problem because I already have marks on my face, and they were there since birth, so I'd have to put the sign next to it, so it would be, I'd have to do that every day. It would distract from my music notes. And Fascia said, yes, good. One of the best Riddle moments. I was hoping you'd like it, Fascia. When it showed up, I was I had to. But even after the party started, the chatter of voices did not return. No one was talking. No one was moving. No one other than Grim, who was practically climbing onto the table in his eagerness to start feasting. Everyone else was moving cautiously, even just to pick up their forks, and seemed to be extremely on edge, watching and waiting. Cater smiled crookedly. You can tell, huh?
he whispered into Yuya's ear. The unbirthday party's been a tradition since the time of the Queen of Hearts, so there are a lot of rules. The kids are a teensy bit jumpy that they might accidentally break one of them. Makes sense, Yuya said as he nodded slowly. But the party's off to a solid start. Not a single hitch. Cater grinned. And the start's the hardest part. Now we just have to do the usual party things. Play it old school cool. The house warden's gotta be breathing a sigh of relief about now. Yuya looked over at Riddle, filling out the red velvet chair. He was smiling and looking quite smug, perhaps because he was pleased to see by the seamless start of the event. See, AC? Cater turned to him eagerly. Maybe now's your chance? Ace gritted his teeth and stood up. Not gonna get anywhere by running away. Time to get this over with! He picked up the silver cake dome Trey had prepared for him in both hands and walked over to Riddle's table. Deuce smiled as he watched him go. He leaned slightly forward and whispered to Yuya and Grim. Hey, how about we sneak up after him? He did say he wanted us to back him up when push came to shove. Plus, I am dying to watch Ace apologize.
Nice, love it. Let's go, you. We can make fun of Ace later,
Grim said. Yuya felt kind of bad for Ace, but he let Grim pull him out of his seat. They crept close enough for Yuya to see the nervous expression on Ace's face as he came to stand beside Riddle. House Warden, sir? He said. Is now okay? Ah, it's you. Riddle looked him up and down. The tart thief. Trey caught Ace's eye from his seat next to Riddle's. Ace Trapula would like to speak with you, Trey explained. I assume that the fact that you're here means you intend to follow the Queen of Hearts Rule 53? Riddle was surprisingly calm. Maybe Cater was right, and he was finally able to relax now that this important event had begun without incident. The only remaining concern was Ace's attitude. He watched him from the side on tenterhooks, but Ace was surprisingly meek. Yes, House Warden, he assented obediently. His conduct was perfect for the time and place. It was astonishing and laudable, and it looked like Yuya needn't have worried. To his other side, Deuce was also nodding his head, satisfied. To apologize for eating your tart without permission, sir, I made you a new one, in the sincerest good faith. With a deft smile plastered on his face, Ace lifted the lid of the cake dome. Voila! Please accept my dearest apologies. Why, this... It's a chestnut tart! Riddle cried out. After resting for a night, the cream on the tart they had made together looked even more decadent. On top of the golden brown shortbread crust sat a rich, fluffy cream the color of light tea, adorned with large chestnuts, which added delightful texture. The impeccable tart rested atop a white doily, looking mouth-wateringly delicious. Yes! Are you surprised? Made with loads of fresh chestnuts and the tour de force... The pride in Ace's voice slowly trailed off. House Warden? Riddle's face was turning redder by the second, changing into an expression of rage. I can't believe this! How dare you bring a chestnut tart in here! Huh? Ace stared at him blankly. Riddle leaped to his feet with a force that nearly knocked his chair over. The Queen of Hearts Rule 562. One must never bring a chestnut tart to an on-birthday tea party. This is an utterly flagrant violation. The Queen of Hearts rules? Ace groaned. Again? Do you understand what you've done? You've ruined an otherwise perfect on-birthday party. How will you atone for this? His merciless condemnation echoed through the garden. How will I atone? Ace cried out, bewildered. I didn't even know that was a rule! The color drained from Yuya's face, while Trey and Cater whispered to each other. Wow, this could be bad. Chestnut tart's a no-go at an unbirthday party? Trey, did you know that? Cater asked. No, I've only memorized up to Rule 350. I never dreamed that even the kinds of cake would be regulated. We really botched this one. Big time, Trey whispered back. Looks like it, Cater replied. The pair raced over and inserted themselves between the house warden and Ace, as if to protect the latter. House warden, allow me to apologize, Trey said quickly. We were the ones who suggested making a chestnut tart. As third years, and as the vice house warden, this was an act that lacked appropriate consideration. Yes, that! Cater snapped a finger out at Trey. I mean, it didn't even occur to us that there'd be a rule like that, you know? This isn't AC's fault. And we are, super duper sorry, okay? Riddle glared at them. You both seem to have misunderstood the situation. The issue is not the making of a chestnut tart. The issue is that he brought it today of all days! To our hollowed-on birthday party! He brings this thing! That is a transgression! To think you cannot see that! He snarled and stared with loathing at the dessert Ace was holding. Destroy the offending tart immediately! A student waiting nearby snatched the tart away. Huh? Ace grabbed Riddle's arm. Hold up! Please! We all worked super hard and gave everything we had to make that tart, you know? You could at least have a bite of it! Quiet! Riddle spat. There's no way I can eat such an odious thing! Not after it has turned this traditional party upside down!
Meow, meow!
Grim leaped out in front of him.
I've been sitting here listening to you going on about destroying the tart and how it's all gross. You've got some real nerve, buddy. If you want the tart gone, let me eat it.
I'm sorry. Yuya hurriedly slapped a hand over Grim's big mouth. The monster was remarkably fixated on food, and Yuya had known that, but he'd been careless and let his guard down. Yuya knew that if Grim became the focus of Riddle's ire, he, as his partner, wouldn't make it out unscathed. Riddle looked slightly surprised at Grim's appearance, but then he sneered. What a greedy little cat! Be grateful to the Queen of Hearts that we are nothing if not polite hosts to our guests. Following her example, I shall welcome you both to our tea party. But even for guests, the chestnut tart is forbidden. The moment you take a bite, it will be off with your heads, so go ahead if you dare. Now toss that thing outside of the dorm this very second. Grim was muttering some complaint in Yuya's arms, and Ace slammed a hand down on the table and said, Like I'm just gonna accept that! He had apparently completely forgotten the fact that he had been trying to apologize to Riddle. All you do is cite one stupid rule after another. You sound totally foolish! Foolish? Riddle's face tightened. You certainly have some nerve talking back to me! AC, stop! Cater lunged forward at the pair, glaring at each other, Trey by his side. You can't be saying that! Let's just take a deep breath, okay? House Warden, please have mercy on him, Trey pleaded. He's only a first year. He doesn't know anything yet. I'll make sure to have a talk with him later. Riddle brushed away Trey's attempt at mediation and jabbed into the end of his scepter at Ace. Listen well! In the years since I became House Warden, not a single student from Hartsville has dropped out or been held back a year. We are the only house that can boast such a feat. Furthermore, of everyone in this dorm, I have the best academic standing and the greatest strength. Hence, I am the most correct! He flicked Ace's collar with the end of his staff, all expression abruptly vanishing from his face. His somehow faraway gaze was so calm that it seemed out of place in this tense situation. It's not off with their heads because I want to do that. You are to blame for breaking the rules. The smallest rule violation will throw wide open the gates to anarchy. All of this is for your own sakes. And who asked you to do that? Ace snapped. No one needed to, Riddle sniffed.
As house warden, I have a responsibility and a duty to guide the students of this dorm. You must simply obey me. There's no talking back aloud. I will not tolerate any response other than, yes, house warden. Even for a tyrant, this is a bit much. Like, wow, hooray, cool, no one failed. But all that means is that the students in this dorm managed to push through despite your ridiculous mess of rules. It's got nothing to do with you and your lunatic obsession. Ace looked back at the students behind him. You guys think so too, yeah? Don't just stand there and stare, say something. The students dropped their eyes to the ground and withered into themselves. They jumped at the mere opening of Riddle's mouth. Students, Riddle called, do you think that I'm foolish? That I'm a tyrant? Far from it, House Warden Riddle, sir, a student responded. We trust in your judgment, sir. 3 cheers for the House Warden, said another. What? You whine about him behind his back? But heaven forbid that in the light of day you... Ace tutted indignantly. Spineless, fair-weather cowards! The students started chanting as if to drown him out. 3 cheers for the House Warden! They shouted earnestly, fear tightening to their faces. 3 cheers for the House Warden! Not a single voice was off the beat in a swirling chant. The command was unnerving. Trey and Cater fell silent. See, there you have it. It appears that you're the only odd one. You're the only odd one here. Riddle was triumphant amid the acclaim. With enemies on all sides, and he screwed up his face in frustration. It was a nightmare. Yuya felt dizzy at the terrible spectacle before his eyes. It was like the dream he'd had the previous night, but much worse. Because it wasn't some playing card soldier forced into this predicament now. It was Ace. Ace had helped him out too many times to count, and he wanted to repay that favor. And yet his feet were paralyzed. He was too scared to jump into the fight. Grim beat at Yuya's arms. Right. He couldn't stay here like this. But even though he knew that, his throat was dry as a bone, and just swallowing hurt. How was he supposed to produce words in this state? His heart felt like it was being ripped out of his chest at the sight of Ace just standing there alone. He wanted to say something to him. Just when Yuya finally managed to open his mouth between ragged breaths, Deuce took a step forward. I am in agreement with Ace's opinion, Deuce said. Like when he had faced the upperclassman from Savannah Claw, he levered a powerful gaze at Riddle. You're Deuce Spade, yes? Riddle said coldly. Do you intend to disobey me, the House Warden? You do understand how serious a crime that is? Going against the boss is bad. It's not the sort of thing an honor student would do. That's what I've thought all this time. Deuce slapped a fist into the open palm of his other hand. He shouted, as if to shake off all doubt. But overlooking something wrong is exactly the sort of thing an honor student would never do! Ace's jaw dropped, and then he exploded in laughter. Oh man! You actually say some pretty good stuff sometimes! Quiet! Deuce snapped. I'm not saying it for you. Rules are important, but I think this is beyond irrational. Saying that the tart we made is all made is odious? Punishing you just for bringing it? It's not right. Yeah, exactly. Ace nodded vigorously. What's the serious crime here? How is this for our sakes? I take it back. I will not apologize to a selfish little tyrant like you. Riddle froze. What did you say? His hushed tone was particularly frightening. As Yuya shuddered, Grim slipped out of his arms and bared his teeth at Riddle.
He said you're a big baby of a selfish tyrant who wastes food!
Huh? Ace gasped. I didn't say all that, though! Deuce exclaimed. Yuya looked at Riddle, who was now purple with rage, and reached a hand out. But he was too late. The house warden swung his scepter down. "Off with your heads!" he shouted. A dazzling light flashed, blanketing Yuya's field of view in white, and Grim shrieked. When his vision finally returned to normal, Yuya saw Grim, Deuce, and Ace blinking in confusion. "Ah," he sighed. "Deuce, Grim, your necks." They looked down at themselves. Just like Ace, they were now wearing large collars. "Whoa!" Deuce grabbed his own with a cry. The house warden! Curses! He got me right while I was watching! Pathetic!"
Again?
Grim whined.
I hate this stupid thing! You, grab on!
"Okay." Yuya raced over and yanked on Grim's collar with all his might. But no matter how hard he pulled, it wouldn't budge. It was the same with Deuce's and Ace's shackles. Grim scrabbled at his with his sharp claws, but the solid lock didn't even get a scratch. Riddle panted, hands clenched into tight fists. His face was so red, Yuya almost expected steam to rise from it. "Trey! Cater!" he said shrilly. "Throw these ill-mannered louts out!" "Yes, House Warden!" Trey and Cater stepped forward, as if to protect Riddle.
Huh? Ace looked back and forth between them. Hang on! Hey! We're not done talking here! Hey! Trey? Cater? Ace entreated. Sorry, AC. Can't disobey the house warden, you know? Cater said. But... Deuce looked shocked. I misjudged you, Diamond. And you think this is funny, Clover? We got a picture of Trey and Cater looking ominously as a very angry Riddle stands in the background. We can see lanterns and trees in the background. Don't think badly of me, Trey said, his voice devoid of expression, and Yuya and his friends floated up into the air. Wrapped in Trey and Cater's magic, they were carried to the garden entrance. Hey, put me down! I said, put me down! Ace kicked and flailed, and the tips of his fingers grazed Trey's hat. The group floated up even higher, and they all struggled against this invisible force. They no doubt looked ridiculous to anyone watching on the ground. Ace! Deuce! Trey said, his voice pitched so only they could hear him. Chill for a bit at Ramshackle Dorm. Can you keep an eye on them? We'll talk to the house warden and make it so they can come back to the dorm if they apologize. His words, meant to be comforting, were actually cruel, as they seemed to condemn the first years, implying they were in the wrong and there was no room for discussion. Who's gonna apologize? Ace roared. I'm not in the wrong here! I will never, ever apologize! Leaving only their shouting behind, they were evicted from the party. The door closed in stark refusal of them. I'm so angry! Ace punched the door. From the other side, they heard Riddle say, Now let's get this party back on track. In order to ensure that the croquet tournament is carried out smoothly, we will proceed at a run. Yes, House Warden, came the mandated response. This guy's so full of himself. Little ginger megalomaniac. Who does he think he is, the Queen of Hearts? Right? Ace fumed. Then he turned around and his eyes grew wide. Deuce stared with empty eyes. All signs of his earlier passion drained away. His ugly collar. I'm no better than Ace now. The shock of being collared had hit him hard. His shoulders slumped forward, and Ace pouted at him. What's that supposed to mean? Don't go all soft on me now, man.
Those collar pinches, and it's heavy.
Grim whined, scratching at his neck unhappily. Yuya reached his hand out and was about to ask if he was okay, but abruptly stopped. Did he have any right to ask? I never thought House Warden Rosehearts would get so angry, Deuce moaned. When you challenged him like that? Ace arched a skeptical eyebrow. That tyrant was obviously going to go off. I didn't say anything to reject the House Warden himself. I figured he'd get it if we could talk. The problem was Grimm saying he was a selfish baby. I mean, of course he was going to flip out about that. Yeah, you went a little too far, Grimm, Ace agreed. But it's just the tart. He was gonna... Grimm moaned. Collars hung around the neck of each member of the dejected group, with the exception of Yuya. He hadn't been able to speak up against Riddle the way Deuce and Grimm had. He'd simply stayed silent and watched as Ace was punished. Hey, you! You're the prefect, yeah? Ace poked his shoulder. How come you weren't keeping an eye on Grimm? You never know what mess he's gonna make. I mean, come on! Hold on to his leash! Yuya looked up, feeling like he was being criticized for abandoning Ace. Maybe Ace had totally given up hope on him. He felt so guilty. He couldn't look him in the eye. You? Ace said. Something wrong? He stammered. What? Ace furrowed his brow quizzically. If you don't tell me, I won't know, man. Are you mad at me? He was not brave enough to pose the question to Ace's face. Now, belatedly, he understood how Ace had felt when he'd asked Yuya the same thing. It was like they were right back where they'd started. An anxious vortex of regret took over his heart. He'd been able to stop everyone from fighting at the enchanted mine, so why hadn't he been able to stand up for Ace back there? Even though Ace had saved him, and they were finally getting to be friends, he hated his cowardice. His waffling made Ace cry out at last. Come on, what? Deuce also appeared troubled, noticing that something was wrong with Yuya. Only Grimm paid no mind to the affairs of the humans and continued to tug on the collar around his neck, grunting, If I could just get this collar off, I'd give that little grouch a run for his money. You're really racking up those collars. Quite the impressive collection, an unfamiliar voice said suddenly. Yuya looked over to see a ball floating above Grimm's head. He stared for a second, and then cried out with Deuce and Ace in unison, Ghost head! The ball was in fact a human head with pointed, triangular ears adorned with a variety of gold accessories that protruded from a purple blob with layered highlights. And then the head moved. Monster! Grimm cried out, looking up a little belatedly. He hid himself behind Yuya's legs, using them as a shield. Whoopsie! Forgot to get my body out there, the head said and grew a neck. Yuya stared in astonishment as it kept going, producing a body from the top down in short order. Shoulders, arms, chest. When heavy purple boots materialized at the very end, the head had become a boy. What even are you? Grimm yelped. The boy was wearing an oversized white shirt with its collar hanging open over his shoulders, a purple and pink top visible underneath. The top was the same color as the striped tail that peeked out from royal blue pants covered in badges. The badges were colorful and cute, and many were arrow-themed with words like this way, that way, and back. The name's Artemis Pinker. Am I a cat? Am I a person? A gnome wrath with a knack for magic? I'm a profound mystery. What? Deuce replied, baffled. Artemovic Pinker. People usually just call me Chenya. Let's just say I'm not from the other side of the looking glass. Chenya, sir? Or are you a first year? Which dormant year are you in? It was no wonder Deuce was asking, as Chenya wasn't wearing the colored armband that denoted which dorm a student was in, nor was he wearing a vest or wielding a magical pen. Grim crept close and sniffed at him, but the boy was carefree and paid him no mind. "Why don't you try to guess?" he said with a smile. "I don't care about introductions or whatever at the moment, thanks." Ace crossed his arms with a cold look on his face. "After the insanity that teapot tyrant put me through, I'm not in the mood for whatever this is. Just leave me alone. Or if you want to sit there and make fun of this caller, then I got a few ideas of my own, okay?" Chenya chuckled. "Riddle a tyrant? I get it. You're not exactly wrong there. That guy's actually always been strict, ever since he was wee." Maybe he had witnessed this earlier exchange, or maybe he had determined Riddle was the culprit from seeing Ace's collar. Either way, Chenya spoke of Riddle quite familiarly, and Yuya had only ever heard Trey talk about him so casually. "Do you maybe know Riddle well?" he asked. I may know him, if knowing's where it's at," Chenya grinned. "Or I may not, if knowing's where it's not."
That's not an answer! Grim cried. Quit futzing around, you jerk! Pick one already!
Chenya was slippery, giving the group nothing to grab onto, and he had a profoundly mysterious air about him. His lips pulled back into a crescent moon of a smile. "What? You guys want to know about Riddle? His four-eyed friend's got the answer." "Four-eyed friend?" Deuce frowned. "You mean Clover?" "What?" Chenya stared at him blankly. "He knows a lot about Riddle." "Who?" "Clover. Are you messing with me right now?" Deuce yelled angrily, and Chenya laughed airily. "Oh, sure. That kid's known Riddle real well since they were wee babes. If I wanted to know something about Riddle, I'd head straight for Four Eyes." "Since they were wee babes," Deuce frowned. "You mean before starting school here? Were Clover and Roseheart's friends growing up?" "So that's why they're all buddy-buddy." Ace glared at the door to the garden. "But they don't seem like they've known each other since they were kids." "Well, if that's what you think, then that's how it is. What are you asking me for?" Chenya said and whirled around. "Later." His body began to disappear from the toes and up. "Wait!" Yu called out to him, wondering if they'd made him unhappy, but Chenya was only ahead again, and he hummed a happy little tune. His head bobbed gently up and down and receded until it eventually disappeared. "What even was that?" Deuce murmured. "He was one weird guy." They all nodded firmly in agreement. "We can't just accept everything this Chenya guy said as fact," Ace said after watching the Catboy disappear. "But at any rate, I think we gotta talk to Trey." He said to wait at Ramshackle Dorm because he was going to fix things so that we could apologize and everything'd be okay." Deuce grinned and shifted his gaze to Ace. "So, you gonna wait like a good little boy?" "As if. Apologizing just to get this thing off? Not cool, not gonna happen." Ace grinned the same daring way as Deuce. "I'm not gonna wait for him to come get us. We're gonna set up a little ambush." And we arrive on chapter 13 of Riddle the Book! Listen to my left elbow, y'all. Yes, a good pop. A great pop! Oh, I love popping my elbow. Listen to my left wrist. Oh, yes. Amazing. So, let me see what I've missed. That old guy. Hey, welcome back. That old guy said, "Oh, hey, I see I've missed a lot." You did, that old guy. But the VOD will be up on YouTube, so you can catch up on what's been the going-ons down in the Riddle world. Let me turn this on. And then that old guy said, "Really, everybody knows Rule 562. I mean, come on." See that old guy siding with Riddle. I see. You're right, that old guy. The rules should be known by all.
That would make Riddle happy. And then Fascia said Riddle going crazy. Yeah, you can see some, some nerves were struck. And perhaps some overblooding may have been foreshadowed. Riddle just being so mad. Who knows what would have happened if things just kept escalating. But thankfully, they were, broken up. The third year stepped in and everything. But yeah, he was going crazy. And then that old guy says, finally, a voice of reason. Preach it, Grim. Yes, Grim came in and just told off Riddle. He was fed up too. He saw something that was wrong. Yeah, I respect Grim for standing up for Ace like that. The nerve! Ace, really? I'm not sure exactly what part you were referring to, but yeah, Ace had a lot of nerve. So did Grim and Deuce. Ah, jeez, that was just quite a disaster. And it was going so well. Oh no, no one said anything about the date! Oh, jeez Louise, I gotta check that more often. That old guy said, I just noticed the date in the top right, above Haberdasher, is from yesterday. You are very right, and I totally forgot to open Snaz. Sorry about that! Now it's right, for the very end of the stream. And then Fascia said, that was a good off with your heads! Thank you, I tried to put the rage behind it that I could feel building inside a Riddle. And, also trying to kind of, remember the intensity that the Japanese voice says it with. And, I'm glad you thought it was good. A very iconic line from Riddle there. And something that was clearly inevitable once tension started rising. We could see that was definitely direction things were going to be pointed in. How they just kept arguing and... Whew. That old guy said, Grim, he said you're a big baby of a tyrant who wastes food. That was quite the bold talk. I can't believe he said that, but he did. That was crazy. Grim. He held no punches. And then that old guy said ghost head. Yes, it was a ghost head indeed. And who other than Fascia said Chenya. Yeah, Chenya appeared very briefly, but he did. And he gave them some advice. That may or may not be true, but he said you should talk to Trey about Riddle to learn about him. And Ace seems like he's absolutely not backing down. He's even said he's planning some sort of ambush, which I don't know how that's going to play out. But we'll see if Chenya's advice ends up working out for them. And if Trey and Cater are able to get to the point where they could have an opportunity to apologize. But right now, that seems like the last thing that's going to happen. So, we'll see. Stick was hyped, and then Fascia said, guess what? What, Fascia? Yeah, what is it? And Wishing for Wounds. Welcome back. Wishing said, OMG, he's back at it. Yes, I had to be back at it reading the Riddle Tyrant book. It was very fun. And if I didn't have work, I'd probably keep going. At least like another chapter or two. But I don't want to rush it, I don't want to... And I realized I don't like stopping in the middle of chapters because, the chapters are purposely divided up. So, yeah, I want to try to, stop and start in the middle of chapters instead of stopping in the middle of a chapter like I did at least once before. So, yeah, we'll be continuing with chapter 13, right? We just read 12. Yeah. 13 next time, whenever that is. I'll try to make it soon. And then we'll see how things go with these Hearts of Buell characters who are... Things are just not going well. Riddle is, well, at least was fuming
They said a lot of them said things that, you know, were probably like heat of the moment kind of things, but that may end up costing them later. Pash just said, me and Throlin are seeing the new Spider-Man movie tonight. Well, that is very awesome, and I hope you enjoy. We will be seeing it very soon. I was thinking, because that old guy works today, and, you know, I don't want to have him see it while he's, like, so tired, that maybe we could see it tomorrow, like, before work, maybe? Before I work. And then that way the tickets are cheaper, and it's, like, less crowded, but still a lot of people, since it'll be a Saturday. So, yeah. I hope you enjoy it, and, yeah, we'll watch it very soon. If not, you know, Friday, then hopefully, like, Saturday. I mean, if not Saturday, hopefully Sunday. Yeah, enjoy, y'all. And on Irium... Millie Mocks Me joined for the first time. Hello to you. And Kay, I think it's Kay, maybe Kai, said hi. Hello to you. And Powerful Turtle, welcome for the very first time. Alrighty, y'all, I am pretty hungry, which is, you know, surprising because, like, yesterday at this time, I was, like, not hungry at all. So, but I'm gonna go eat something, and then get ready for work. So I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And if you're gonna go see the new Spider-Man, enjoy! Bye-bye! Riddle! Off with your heads! I said off with...